Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have another Guild Wars 2 build video to do, and this time I've decided to tackle the Revenant's elite specialization, the Vindicator. I'm having a lot of fun with the Vindicator. It is an elite spec that offers many different routes for a player to take, from healing support to more damage focused and even boon extension. There's a lot to dive into, pun intended, with the Vindicator, so let's head on over to the gear, talk about the traits, and show off some gameplay. For my gear that I'm running for the Vindicator, I'm taking the new stat combination for this expansion, Dragon Stats. This gives you power, vitality, precision, and ferocity. It's a little bit extra to help you survive in situations, and considering the Vindicator only gets one dodge, having some padding for extra survivability is pretty nice. For the runes, I'm taking Rune of Strength, and for the weapons, I'm running with Greatsword and Staff. I'm using Staff for the purpose of extra healing if I need it. However, if you want to play more pure glass cannon, extreme damage, sword, or sword axe could be nice. Greatsword, however, is so good. I'm really loving Greatsword. I honestly wish that it was a core weapon, but I'm glad that it finally came on the elite spec. Sigil of Ruthlessness, and I'm taking Sigil of Nullification and Concentration on my staff. I haven't picked a second Sigil. I need to look at that, but you can mess around with that to fit your desires in terms of what you're doing. As for my accessories, I'm also running with Dragon Stats. This is from my other build when I was doing, I don't have another Ascended one, so it's just a little bit extra healing power and concentration. But then you could just pad this out with extra damage, Berserkers, Valkyrie, Marauders, etc, etc. I'm running Invocation, of course, Devastation, and the Vindicator. So for Invocation, I'm running with Rising Tide, Incensed Response, and Charged Mists. Charged Mists is really great if you do sometimes struggle with energy. It's a nice way that if you use all your energy and you're down to 10, you gain an increase of 25 when you legend swap. If you aren't really that keen on energy swapping at lower thresholds, I would really recommend Roiling Mists. You gain increased critical hit chance when you have Fury. So your Fury is doubled to 60% increased critical hit chance, which is really, really nice. Song of the Mists could work as well. Devastation, I'm running with Unsuspecting Strikes, Notoriety, and Dance of Death. Dance of Death is the one trait that allows you to bolster yourself up. I love their back and forth. It's so good. Okay. Excuse the interruption. Dance of Death is the one trait that allows you to survive for more and survive exponentially, because when you apply vulnerability, you gain stacks of battle scars, and the healing from battle scars is increased while you are below the health threshold. So you're applying a lot of vulnerability with this build, and you're able to pad yourself with extra strike damage with battle scars, but importantly, that life siphon. And then finally for Vindicator, I'm taking Leviathan Strength, deal increased damage while your endurance is not full. Song of Arboreum to grant myself and allies vigor, and vigor's effectiveness is increased by 50%. And then finally, I'm taking Forerunner of Death. Dodging now deals more damage but affects a smaller area. You also gain a flat damage increase for 15 seconds. And this trait is really strong in PvE. It's 15% increased damage for 15 seconds. You also deal heavy damage and apply 10 stacks of vulnerability. This is nothing to scoff at. If you are in group content and you don't really want to play the full glass cannon, you can take Vassals of the Empire. Vassals of the Empire deals modest damage while applying chill. Also, when you take it, you apply might and protection. On top of this, you also extend boon duration for allies when you land. So all 5 allies that are around you, their boons will be extended by 2 seconds. Really great, really nice. So that's the build for my damage spec, the Luxon I call it. Now let's talk about the legends that I'm going with. You don't have really utility choice when it comes to Revenants, but let's just go over it. Selfish Spirit is nice to prioritize if you are, of course, low health, but it also bolsters your might, which, playing with your rune set definitely helps. Nomad's Advance. I cannot emphasize how strong this skill can hit for. It's 2,000 flat on this build, and if you get Might throughout the fight, if you're attacking an enemy that has vulnerability, this can crit for like 10, 11, 13,000 damage. This is incredibly strong on a fairly short cooldown, and it does not cost too much energy. One thing I would say for Scavenger Burst is I wish that it applied area quickness as well. I think the one thing about Vindicator is that there isn't much to group utility and group access. Additionally, Tree Song, which is the St. Victor flip over, it actually doesn't change on the UI, but Tree Song applies regen, which I think is totally good, but the healing is conditional, so you have to be aware of that. And finally, I will just say for now, dropping the Urn of St. Victor, the boons are nice, but they're not exciting enough. I think below 25% health should grant Alacrity. I'm not so sure about Resistance. Resistance could be the second boon below 50%, and then Alacrity could be below 25%, and then bump Protection up to below 75%. I'm also taking the legendary Assassin stance, Shiro, because you really have to play with that RP value. So let's get into some combat and highlight a little bit of this build's damage. With this being a pretty straightforward damage spec, there isn't much to go into other than like rotationally. Always make sure that you're using your dodge where you can. We're also going to build up some might here. We're going to CC and build up some extra quickness. Also, your fourth skill with your greatsword does increase damage the more you block. So in big packs of damage like this with multiple strikes, it's nice to build up that juicy damage. Also, we have a continuous rolling like 7-10 stacks of battle scars. So you might be taking damage, but as you are fighting and applying that vulnerability, it's really great. Oh, Aether Blades, I'm coming to kill you. I know you're all hiding because I'm about to wreck your day, but I'd like to show this off. So one thing with this is, of course, popping your spear first, going into your dodge. I'd like to note that when you are in your Revenant Legend, a good combo to use is Impossible Odds with Eternity's Requiem, because you get so many packets of damage. It's really, really fun. We're gonna block some of that. Extra strikes of damage, and yeah, especially in group scenarios, that's even better to use. So here we have a nice clump of enemies. Let's see how much area of effect pressure we can apply into the F5, and we're gonna go into our dodge, getting a little bit extra damage. I'm going to pop my 6th skill just to have rolling strikes as well. Gonna get some more quickness. I'm gonna start blocking a little bit, block 3 attacks, do more damage. Your third ability is nice to get to a location to apply extra chill. It does have a 900 range, but it won't actually travel 900 units outside of combat. You have to have an enemy targeted, so it is slightly conditional. Gonna get extra rolling might here, even stronger damage. Even your auto attacks are pretty strong. The one thing I will say about the Greatsword's second skill is that I wish it did more damage against a single target, similar to the Sword 2. However, it does apply 3 stacks of vulnerability for 10 seconds, so it's nice just to build up over the fight's duration. We're gonna stun, gain a little bit extra healing. A nice thing about the Legendary Alliance stance that if you need to, you can swap into St. Victor to use slightly stronger supportive abilities. Like you can apply better regen, even using the Urn quickly to just drop it, to clear conditions. It's nice, however, you do have to keep in mind that because you can swap into it, it's not going to be extremely strong support abilities where your heal is doing 3 times as much. Your Condi Clear is nice and it will pad with extra healing, but it doesn't do anything up front other than grant regen. So if you don't build healing power into that regen, it's not going to necessarily be super high value. Another thing also is your F2 for your Profession Mechanic is a great way to build up your endurance flat out. Let's just quickly use my this and then go into F2. We build it up over halfway, so you're able to get into another dodge pretty quickly, but there still is a slight delay, so just be aware of that. Also with Vassals of the Empire, the protection uptime and the might uptime is really good in group settings, but also for yourself. So while you might think of this as more of a group-oriented trait, this still can be a fairly selfish trait to bolster yourself with that protection. However, if you're a glass cannon like me, and you have no regard for your safety, you can just dodge right in and do 7,000 damage on just a dodge. Daredevils are shook. Daredevils Daredevils hate this elite spec. Click here to find out why. Into Shiro, pop in over here. And also with Shiro, just to note, as always, your Jade Winds are a great ability to use for that Defiance bar damage. And also it does pretty decent flat damage and also vulnerability. So Jade Winds is a pretty delicious elite skill. And fairly long lasting too. The only thing I would say about Vindicator is to try to be as conscious as possible when you swap back into Legendary Alliance, because if you do swap legends using Alliance tactics, you might end up being in St. Victor when you want to be in Arcamoris, or you might be in Arcamoris when you really want to be in St. Victor, so just keep note of that to the best of your ability. Vindicator gameplay is a really nice time. It is definitely different because you only have one dodge, and it might take you some time to get used to that, but there are certain tools that you can use and have at your disposal to make it easier, like your F2. Certain traits give you endurance. Of course, we have vigor, and even other abilities will grant you some endurance on certain conditional aspects. So sorry about that, we had to do a quick location change, but you could say that Greatsword is a great time. And I also never really mentioned it, but if you need to, and you are going a bit low on health, you can swap over to your staff for some extra damage, and also your staff drops healing orbs, which you can pick up to gain a little bit extra healing. Your fourth ability is a nice heal and condition cleanse, so just keep that in mind if you do fall a little bit lower. But Greatsword is great, Vindicator is fun, and there are more possibilities with support builds, which I might explore in future build videos. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, comment down below your thoughts about the Vindicator. Do you like Arcamoris? Do you like St. Victor? I would love to know. Subscribe, share, and if you would like to support the channel, I have a Patreon where you get early access to videos, and if you would like to order Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, I have links below. Thank you so much, ArenaNet. And if you are interested in ExpressVPN or VPN services in general, we have ExpressVPN links in the description. And thank you everyone so much for coming on by once again, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody. Mwah.